Regulatory T cells are the one immune cell that nobody is talking about at all. I mean, I'm one of the only people talking about the mast cells and how important they are for chronic illnesses, but the regulatory T cell is the other one that you need to know about if you want to heal, okay? And how do you influence the regulatory T cells? I'll talk about that in this video. First, let me say I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. It's based on my personal experience of 22 years of research that I've done, and this is for informational and educational purposes only, okay? The regulatory T cells, so why are they even involved? Who cares? What are they, right? So these are the cells that actually tell your other cells, your helper cells, to stop reacting to things that they shouldn't be reacting to. They're most important when you're having sensitivities to things, okay? If you're having various sensitivities, your regulatory T cells are imbalanced, and we have problems there. So if you want to influence the regulatory T cells, you got to change the gut microbiome, because that's the main place that's going to affect the regulatory T cells. And this is typically through the production of short-chain fatty acids, and also through just influencing the toll-like receptors through various beneficial byproducts of fermentation and breakdown, right? So what we do, in essence, is first we change our diet, okay? We start to get more of the dense fibers into our diet, things like apples, pears, Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, things like that. So we got to get resistant starches in there, like potatoes, rice, things like that, green bananas, etc. We also want to get fruits, vegetables, beans, lentils, all the various types of fiber, because the more fiber, the better, because different types of fibers feed different colonies of bacteria in your gut. So if you want to increase levels of short-chain fatty acids, which is the main thing that will affect your inflammation level, then you have to go ahead, most and foremost, to improve fiber, all right? Improve fiber quantity and diversity, okay? So if you do that, you'll boost your short-chain fatty acids, which will change your regulatory T cell balance. You'll start to boost your regulatory T cells, and that'll offset the imbalance between your regulatory T cells and your helper cells, okay? So once you've got ahead and established the proper diet where you're having much less animal products, very minimal animal products, mostly plants, various plant fibers, not processed foods, packaged foods, then we start working on getting prebiotics in there, good prebiotics, things like acacia fiber from Anthony's, the brand's Anthony's, things like arabinogalactin in the product Fiberade by Swanson, things like apple pectin from Bulk Foods, things like bee propolis from Eco Bee Farms, things like Cistus icanis, from eBay, Agora, I think it's Agora Herbs, from Greece. These are all really good prebiotics, okay? And prebiotics will help to change the gut microbiome, and the gut microbiome will then produce more short-chain fatty acids, and it will start to become more abundant in these beneficial bacteria. So when you eat these fibers, these good foods, then you'll even break them down even better, and you'll produce even more short-chain fatty acids, which will improve your regulatory T cell count. As you improve your levels of regulatory T cells, guess what? Your symptoms go down because you stop reacting to your foods, to your environment, as much to the trigger, stress and emotional triggers. Your mast cells calm down. They reduce in population. The regulatory T cells are like the main back end to go ahead and calm down the whole body, but you got to do it through fiber, through increasing short-chain fatty acids primarily, because that's the main things impacting regulatory T cells, and also through phytonutrients, plant-based phytonutrients. A lot of these naturally boost regulatory T cell production. Things like your Cistus icanis, your skullcap, the arabinogalactin that I mentioned, the other prebiotics, the acacia, the inulin, that's another one that increases your regulatory T cell levels. So the point is, these prebiotics can all increase regulatory T cell levels, which stops the autoimmune-like reactions and the hypersensitivity reactions, calms down the body, lets the gut heal, and this is how you really heal. You got to address mast cells for the instantaneous reactions. You got to boost the regulatory T cells through providing sufficient food for the gut, whether it's in your actual food you're eating or prebiotics. You got to combine these strategies together to be able to really heal. Nobody's talking about this. The only reason I figured it out is because I slaved away for 22 years researching and went through this all myself, with my daughter, myself, with many clients. So thanks for watching. Go to my website, endsickness.org. I get hundreds of articles, hundreds of videos in there teaching you how to heal. Take care.